The Canadian tech startup scene is booming, with innovative companies pushing the boundaries of technology and driving economic growth.
It's the same thing as any habit or hobby. It really comes down to you practicing and trying multiple times and failing. What we realized was that those failures were basically hints towards doing the opposite of what you're
Right.
currently doing.
Now, what advice would you give to inspiring and experienced engineers who are listening to this right now on remaining competitive in the job market? Staying ahead of the curve in terms of skills, knowledge, and continuous development.
So all I really do is go on the Canadian Business Registry. Anyone can Google that, and you'll be able to access hundreds of millions of dollars in grants, in RFPs, in funding proposals, and all of that is accessible on the internet.
Hey there, Canadian entrepreneurs. Are you looking to build and scale a successful tech startup in Canada? Remember, attracting and retaining top engineering talent, fostering a culture of innovation, and exploring alternative funding options are key ingredients for achieving your goal. Hi, this is Kripa Anand, and welcome to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast, where we explore the inspiring journeys of Canadian entrepreneurs and uncover the secrets to building and scaling successful tech startups in Canada's dynamic landscape. The Canadian tech startup scene is booming, with innovative companies pushing the boundaries of technology and driving economic growth. According to a recent report by KPMG, Canadian tech startups raised a record of $14.7 billion in venture capital funding in 2024, highlighting the growing confidence and investment in this vibrant sector. Joining us today is Mathew Mozaffari, founder and CEO of Speer Technologies, a leading technology company specializing in building innovative products that have garnered FDA and patent provisions. Matthew's entrepreneurial journey, marked by resilience, innovation, and a passion for creating impactful technology solutions, makes him an inspiring figure in the Canadian tech scene. Today, we'll delve into Matthew's experience in scaling a tech startup in Canada, explore strategies for remaining competitive in this ever evolving engineering market, and uncover the secrets to raising the funding without relying on traditional venture capital. So, let's get started. Matthew, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Not too bad, not too bad. How about you?
Great, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Same here.
So let's start the conversation by discussing about the scaling scene of tech startup in Canada. Now, Matthew, first of all, your journey as an entrepreneur from building, the first mobile app in a university lab to leading a successful tech company recognized by the Globe and Mail, it's truly inspiring. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
Now, Matthew, talking about Spear Technologies in specific, you've achieved a remarkable success in a relatively short period, right? Can you share your journey of scaling Spear from its early days to its current size now and its recognition as one of Canada's top growing companies?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's the same thing as any habit or hobby. It really comes down to you practicing and trying multiple times and failing. What we realized was that those failures were basically hints towards doing the opposite of what you're
Right.
currently doing. So, as cliche as it sounds, it really came down to us attempting to solve a problem, failing to solve the problem, and identifying the opposite approaches to solving
Right.
that problem. That really allowed us to iterate on our product, our company, our solutions, and that allowed us to scale.
Wow, that's a remarkable journey. Now, your story, it highlights the importance of perseverance, adaptability, and a very customer-centric approach, especially in navigating the challenges of scaling a tech startup. In particular, can you recall of any specific challenge that was very difficult to come out of, but it taught you a very big lesson?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started Spear, I had the only priority of generating revenue. That was my only goal. It was, how do I generate revenue? Because the only way you can have a successful business, at least at that time, for me, was building a product or a solution which could generate revenue and therefore have income, which could then offset your expenses. So it's as simple as your profit is essentially your revenue subtracted by your expenses. And I just wanted to make sure that that was always a positive figure. Now, to accomplish that, it became very tricky and it was very intimidating at the time because you want to create recurring revenue because that's
Right.
how you can create sustainability and plan for the future.
Mhm.
That was the part that was the most intimidating, but that came through iterative approaches. And what I really mean by that is finding ways to increase your profit margin. That's one way to create
Right.
scale for long-term growth. There's another approach that you could follow is by raising money or having grants. And then the final approach is by creating an offering or a sales solution which creates small and short or small and short um, cycles for
Right.
your sales side. And those sales cycles, the shorter you can make them, the more opportunity and more money you can bring into the company.
Definitely, every business is a trial and error method till you hit the right spot, right? Now,
Yes.
let's shift our focus and talk about the engineering team. Now, building a strong engineering team, it's crucial for any tech company's success, right?
Yes.
What do you think are some key factors to consider, especially when building an engineering team? And what are some, common pitfalls to avoid in the hiring process?
Yeah, totally. I mean, the biggest pitfall is the communication style. And
Mhm.
when I say communication style, some people assume I'm talking about English comprehension
Mm-hmm.
versus the ability to speak a language. The ability to speak a language has nothing to do with your comprehension and ability
Exactly.
to communicate. It
Right.
really comes down to your level of understanding of a concept in any language and the approach you take to communicate the ideas. And I think the biggest pitfalls for us when we were first hiring
Mm-hmm.
was hiring individuals that could code very well, but couldn't necessarily communicate the concepts or problems they were solving.
Uh-huh.
That led to us having to hire another person above that person to manage their work and their code
Right.
quality because we weren't able to understand or gauge what they were building and solving and how it can be optimized. So we just ended up spending more money when in reality you should be finding people and building people up to not only develop to a high degree of quality, but to
Right.
communicate in a high degree of quality as well.
Very well articulated. If I may ask, what do you think genuinely goes wrong in the hiring process? Because every candidate says all the goody goody answers right to get hired. But as an employer, as someone who is going to work with them long term, is there any specific things that you look for or don't look for in people who come?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would probably say the biggest quality is that communication style again. So if someone is interviewing and we ask them how many years of experience do you have with JavaScript and they say 10 years. That's great. That's a green flag. But if you ask them to dive into a technical concept in JavaScript and ask someone to explain a specific concept behind class components, for
Right.
instance, and they don't explain it or they struggle to, that's a
Mhm.
reflection of not just their understanding of the technology that they've learned,
Correct.
but it's also a reflection of their skill set and how they've taught
Hmm.
themselves. And while being a strong engineer might be what a company needs,
Right.
sometimes you might need more than that. And when you're building a business, you require an individual to be resourceful, to be passionate about the work, to be able to communicate that passion and work through words as well.
Right.
And if they can't do that, that's where it makes it a bit tricky.
Great. Those are some valuable insights, Matthew. Identifying the right skills, fostering a collaborative culture, and providing opportunities for growth are essential for attracting and retaining top engineering talent. Now, the engineering market is highly competitive, right, with rapid advancements in technology and evolving skill demands. Now, what advice would you give to inspiring and experienced engineers who are listening to this right now on remaining competitive in the job market and staying ahead of the curve in terms of skills, knowledge, and continuous development?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I recently spoke on a podcast and I was sharing feedback to the host about how they could teach their viewers how to code. And it's as simple as doing research. I'd say, like, if anyone's listening to this, and that's the camera, right? If anyone's listening to this and they want to get into engineering, go on github.com and just on in the search bar, just type in something that you like, something that you want to see. For example, when I first started coding, I would ask people, I would go on GitHub and I would type in on github.com poker game because I enjoyed playing poker, for
Right.
instance. And there are code bases there that show you how to build a poker game. And all I did was copy that code and tinker with that code. And that was that was the start of my engineering skill set and my engineering career. So for anyone listening, go on github.com and just search up tools or
Right.
frameworks or ideas that you're interested in. And same thing with AngelList. There's this website called wellfound.com, and they actually hire students in exchange for equity. And it's a great opportunity for someone that's open to learning to try their shot at coding in a startup that's growing. And those websites really allow you to not only keep up with trends in the market,
Right.
but they allow you to understand what the market needs while getting an opportunity to work in the workforce.
Great. I think the knowledge base is already out there. Now, in these times, especially, it's upon you how well you're using them, right?
Yeah.
Great. Now, let's explore your unconventional approach to raising funding without relying on, the traditional venture capital. Hey there, Canadian entrepreneurs. Are you looking to build and scale a successful tech startup in Canada? Remember, attracting and retaining top engineering talent, fostering a culture of innovation, and exploring alternative funding options are key ingredients for achieving your goal. Alright, we'll be right back with Mathew Mozaffari to explore his unconventional approach to raising funding without relying on traditional venture capital. Stay tuned to learn how you can secure capital for your tech startup through alternative methods.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep. Healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah. Well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep. That's all us. That's all UPS.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, we're in the business of you.
We're here to help you plug in,
Connect and recharge.
Make an impression,
and meet with confidence.
With 19 brands built for business,
your business gets even more rewarding.
With an award-winning loyalty program at 6,000 IHG hotels and resorts worldwide.
Welcome back. Let's dive into Matthew's strategies for raising capital and navigating the challenges of entrepreneurship without traditional venture funding. Now, Mathew, you've successfully raised funding for your ventures without relying on the traditional areas, right? Can you share your approach to raising capital and the strategies you've used to, secure funding from alternative sources?
Yeah, totally. It comes down to research. I'm just resourceful, really, at the end of the day. And what we've been able to do is unlock cash reserves by reaching out to delivery organizations. So the government in Canada every year releases a certain amount of liquid cash that can be injected into these delivery organizations. And these delivery organizations distribute money across Canadian businesses, and they prioritize businesses that apply. So all I really do is go on the Canadian Business Registry. Anyone can Google that, and you'll be able to access hundreds of millions of dollars in grants, in RFPs, in funding proposals, and all of that is accessible on the internet. And what we've done in the past is we've applied for these grants, applied for these funding opportunities, and we've received millions of dollars last year. But at the same time, we are able to work with these delivery organizations to create long-term partnerships. So, for example, with Lighthouse Labs, we're one of their top contributors. We've hired a large number of engineering resources from their boot camps, but in return, they've given us grants and funding and subsidies and have prioritized us. And what's great is that we're able to use their network for the companies that we partner with to help them with hiring initiatives and save them money in the process.
Wow, that is a very innovative approach, I think, and it all boils down to being aware, and you cannot be aware about everything, so research comes very handy in here. Great. Now, building a strong network, demonstrating traction and crafting a compelling pitch are, first of all, very important for attracting investors and securing funding. Now, many entrepreneurs, they struggle with securing funding for their ventures. What advice would you give to those who are, making some common mistakes, or, who try and they fail and they leave too soon? How important is patience when you're doing this journey?
Yeah, it's important. It's definitely important to be patient. It's also very important to realize that there's a difference between being headstrong and being arrogant. And
Hmm.
that arrogance can shoot yourself in the foot, because you need to know when to call it quits, but you also have to be very methodical with how you assess a situation. So for example, if I'm building an app and the app fails, or let's say the app doesn't get enough users and I go, all right, I can't work on this product anymore. That's too general of a statement. You need to analyze the components which caused the platform to be the way it is.
Mhm.
And when you analyze these components, you could go, okay, people dropped off the app because they went on the app to register, but they didn't like the registration flow.
Right.
Or they register and they try to make their first order on the app and they didn't place the order. Um, when you bucket something as a failure or a success, it's very dangerous because you just put a blanket statement on everything and you assume that all of your learnings did not contribute to your successes. And when you bucket things, you forget about the silver lining
Right.
with the effort. And if I go back to that app example, when you are ordering something and you notice that there's a drop off, work on improving that. Maybe that will increase your audience retention. Or maybe you realize the entire app didn't work well,
Hmm.
but you discover that the algorithm that would connect you to a driver, for example, let's say it's like an Uber competitor, maybe that algorithm can be optimized to improve the ability to connect a driver to a rider. All these little analyses allow you to dissect your successes and your failures in a to a very small degree. And dissecting those successes and failures allows you to identify what went well and what didn't go well, so you can continue the feedback loop of success on those things that worked and avoid the items that failed. So patience is important, but you should never blindly call something as a failure or a success, because there are many layers to all of
There's always
the
a
effort.
gray area, right?
Of course, of course.
Great. Now, thorough preparation, a clear understanding of your target investors, and a compelling story are very important for successful fundraising. Now, Matthew, your journey as an entrepreneur, from building your first app to scaling tech companies, it's amazing. Again, if there's one key message before we let you go that you would want our listeners to take away from this entire conversation, especially about building and scaling a tech startup in Canada, what would it be?
That's a good question. I'd say be resourceful. The internet is a well of knowledge, and I've been able to successfully get 8 patents, not because I am a genius or I have some genetic code that has made me unique to others. It is purely due to the fact that I've done research, and the internet is a well of knowledge. You can learn anything on the internet nowadays. So use it. Use it for funding. Use it to connect to your audience. Use it to do sales and cold outreach. Use it to grow your business. And as basic as that may sound, like how do I raise money, or how do I bring in profit, or what is profit or expense? You can Google all of that from zero. So everyone should just use the internet, do research, and just start, because you'll never know until you start.
Wow, that was a very powerful conversation with Matthew. Perseverance, adaptability, and a passion for innovation are essential qualities for achieving success in this dynamic world of technology. So, thank you so much, Matthew, for
Thank you.
being here and doing this.
Thank
We
you.
love this conversation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay, that was an insightful conversation with Mathew Mozaffari, founder and CEO of Speer Technologies, on scaling a tech startup in Canada, navigating the engineering market, and raising funding without relying on traditional venture capital. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. We appreciate your continued support. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more expert insights and resources that can help your business thrive. You can also visit our website, CanadianSME.ca, for more valuable information and tools. A very special thank you to our podcast partners, RBC, UPS, IHG Hotels and Resorts, and Google for their ongoing commitment to empowering small businesses in Canada. Until next time, see you in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.